Hey, this is David Owen.
And this is Marian Cowagowan.
And this is You Show Me Yours, a podcast where a married couple talks about the movies and television that they loved before the first date. And this time I was made to watch 2 random episodes of Little House on the Prairie.
They're not random. They have to do with, they're Ma-centric, first of all, because in the U.S. it's Mother's Day this month. And also they are about how now we understand the human body and yay for modern medicine.
Uh-huh.
But mostly we are talking about them today because they both left an impression on me and scarred me a little bit and or gave me false thoughts about what was going to happen to my body at various points. We are talking about, not that you're going to look these up, but season 2, episode 15 called A Matter of Faith, which aired in 1976, and season 7, episode 20, I Do Again, which aired in 1981. I didn't see those when they aired. I saw them later in reruns because, as I've mentioned, there wasn't much TV in my house that we were allowed to watch like wholeheartedly, but Little House was on that list. It wasn't on PBS, but yet we could still watch it.
I'm convinced that nobody ever saw Little House when it aired. Like, obviously they did.
Yes.
But there are few living left who watched Little House live.
It is kind of weird to think about this as being like a primetime show that at the time people had to make time for, and you had to block out like, okay, every Wednesday night or whatever it was when we do this. It's not, I think so many of the network dramas today are so much more, they're edgier. And so to think of this as occupying the same like time on the TV schedule as like Grey's Anatomy or something, and Grey's Anatomy isn't even all that edgy anymore, or I don't even know what's
or something.
More old references. I don't even know what's edgy anymore on network TV. But this Little House was always so wholesome. This and the Waltons and what was it in the 70s? I don't know. But anyway, I definitely did not see them on first run because the first one I wasn't even born, and the second one I think my parents had kept me from watching TV at that point. I was 4, and I think they still were like, "No, what, that box in the corner? No, that doesn't do anything." I mean, it
plays the news,
right? That's it. Yeah. And it was in black and white, and it was tiny, so it wasn't exciting to me.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so last time I told you that we were going to talk about the episode where Ma goes through menopause. You're going to have to wait for that one. We're going to talk about the early episode first, A Matter of Faith, aka the episode where Ma almost cuts her foot off.
Yes.
Aka girl, get your tetanus shot. Aka thank God for antibiotics.
Yeah.
Also, AKA Charles, fix the wires on your damn wagon, because really that was the whole thing. Mm-hmm. So, this is sort of a small episode. It's just the family. We meet the doctor, we meet the pastor, and we meet a neighbor who I'm going to say is in this episode this one time and never see him again, because Little House is very good at that. They have the family, and then they have a couple of townspeople who show up regularly. And then they have all these neighbors who are guest stars who show up once and act like they're very important and critical to the family's life. And then they're never seen again.
Yeah.
Oftentimes they die dramatically.
Just for the uninitiated, Little House on the Prairie is a hour-long television drama about a frontier family.
Yes.
Based on the books of the similar name.
Yes, that is important to know, because a lot of people only know the TV show and they are surprised to learn that A, it's based on books, B, the books were based on real life. And that to me is like blasphemy. Like, you have to know this was based on real people. However, we talked about the pilot episode of Little House, I don't know, a year and a half, 2 years ago. That is very similar to the books. There's like some characters that show up from the books that show up in the show and some general plot points, but these 2 episodes completely made up. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the things on the show are completely made up, which is, fine. it's hard to translate a series of 9 books into a show when in the books they advance over like 20 years, and in the show but yeah, this is all fake. This is not a real person. And I hope that they don't have storylines like these in the reboot that's coming out in June on Netflix, which I'm very excited to see because nostalgia. But I hope that we don't have, for example, gnarly cuts and menopause happening. That's just no, thank you. But did I describe it accurately? Did I fill in the gaps where you wanted me to?
Sure.
Yeah. So our early episode, A Matter of Faith. So the family's getting home, and Ma gets out of the wagon and cuts her leg on a stray wire.
Mm-hmm.
Charles, keep up your wagon, please. I don't know why there's a wire there.
Well, so they would have used that wire to hold things in place in the wagon. So
it was like the gate of the...
Not a gate, like, we got a bottle of milk. We're gonna wrap this wire around the bottle.
Excuse you, they had a cow. Did you not notice? They don't need to buy milk.
We've got a bottle of piss. Imported. It's very important. It's imported polar bear piss. We need it.
It's medicinal.
Right. We need it to make our shine. It's a bottle of anything. It doesn't matter what it is.
It was the horse liniment that...
Maybe it's chocolate milk.
Yeah.
Because they don't have
any
chocolate cow.
Right. Anyway,
yes, you would use that wire to hold things to the side of the very shaky, rambunctious moving cart.
That's true. Yeah, I have to say, this wagon looks like it's going to fall apart. It always does through the whole series. But so she cuts her leg, and it's sort of Chekhov's infection. She says, "Oh, I'll go, clean it off." And when she gets inside, one of the kids has gotten into a jar of jam, and she has to clean it up, and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So no medical attention to the cut is the point.
Mm-hmm.
And then machinations happen. The family is going to go on another trip, and she was going to go with them, but she needs to stay home to bake pies for the church fundraiser thing. So she's going to be home by herself. And meanwhile, Charles is reading the newspaper, and another anvil dropped. A couple towns over, people left and didn't lock the doors, and someone came and stole all their stuff. So you be sure to lock the door when we're gone. Okay, Charles, I will lock the door. Mm-hmm. Next day, they've left. Caroline. It is Caroline, by the way. Everyone says Carolyn, but it's Caroline, which really bugs me. Get it right.
Goodness, sorry.
I prefer the name Caroline to Carolyn anyway, but also get it right. That's not her name. She's at home baking, and she communicates via some pantomimes that, her leg is starting to hurt more and more. And there's a couple of shots of it, and it's getting progressively redder over the day. And she's getting a fever. At one point, she passes out. She went outside to rescue the cow, who had somehow gotten out of the pen. And it's raining, and she's trying to get the cow, and she passes out in the rain for a while, and the cow wanders off to wherever. And so she's in a bad way, but nobody knows. Mm-hmm. And she is delirious, and she's not thinking straight, and she locks the door because Charles told her to keep the crook away. So the next day, when the pastor comes to pick up her pies...
Yes, the reason she stays and doesn't go with the family is because she has to bake pies for
I said that.
The bake sale. But wait, I want to bring up a point. Because they didn't raise enough money for her to build a church or something.
It was never...
It's the most convoluted... It's the most convoluted thing of we need a reason for Ma to stay home. What would be so important to Ma that she would have to stay home?
It couldn't be that she just wants to.
Yeah. No, what would be so important? Cooking, of course.
And church.
Yeah.
And apparently she makes the best pies ever. And, which I'm impressed. They show them, they're gathering up a dozen pies, which is pretty good.
Well, and she can't make them even one extra day ahead.
Because they need to be fresh. Yeah. Well, and you can't bake them on Sunday.
Of course.
Because that's the Lord's Day, so she has to do them on Saturday.
Yes.
So she was going to go with them to this thing, and she's not there, and they're like, okay, I guess we'll take the pies, and they try the door and it's locked. Meanwhile, she's passed out on the floor, so they don't see her if they look in, although she has closed the windows anyway, so they wouldn't see her. So basically it's the classic, and I think she throws something through the window to try to get their attention, but they're long gone, and she can see that very dramatically. She can see them driving away, so they've got the pies. They don't, So now she's like, well, no one's coming. What am I going to do? And she is sitting in the rocking chair by the fire, and she's been turning to the Bible for comfort, which is something, honestly, I've never understood. Because there's a lot of very uncomforting verses in the Bible. For example, there's a story about a guy who fell asleep under a tree and the birds crapped in his eyes and he went blind. Like, what if you turn to that? What is that meant to tell you? I don't know. But anyway, don't sleep under a tree.
You should be doing some work, shouldn't you?
I suppose. Well, but he was sleeping. He was getting a nap. Anyway, so she doesn't turn to that. She turns to the passage that says, if your eye offends you, cut it out. If your foot offends you, cut it off. What it means is if it's causing you to sin. But we don't get into the theological examination of this. She gets a knife and she is sterilizing it in the fire. And we're led to believe that she's going to cut off her leg. Yes. She's going to amputate. Because it is looking pretty gnarly.
Yeah.
It doesn't have like the redness running up and down the leg, which is a sign of blood poisoning, but it's pretty close. So we're led to think that she's going to cut off her leg. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, the pastor has gotten to the place where Pa and the girls are, and he's like, "Oh yeah, Caroline wasn't at home. I don't know. Did she come separately? No, I don't know. Well, that's odd. Well, let me go check on her." So Charles is going home, passes the neighbor, the very important neighbor who we'll never see again, who's like, "Are you going to get your cow? Why? Take your cow, please." And Charles is like, "Caroline didn't come to get the cow? No, she didn't." Well, then he goes off really seriously. Breaks in, sees her on the floor. We don't see the leg. So you don't find out till the very end of the episode what happened, which is that she basically just sliced it enough to let the infection out. And then of course, Charles discovers her. They get the doctor. She gets not antibiotics. I don't know what at that point. We don't discuss any of that. So everybody prays very hard, and then Ma makes it through the night, and the fever's broken, and then she's fine. The end.
Yeah.
This is one of those scarring episodes where all I remember is, oh my God, she was going to cut her leg off.
Right.
And I didn't get any of the larger messages about, I don't know, have faith or be willing to do hard things or any of this stuff. I was just like, oh my God, I don't want to cut off my leg.
Yeah.
And this happens a lot on Little House, honestly. There's an episode that if I had all the time in the world to show you Little House episodes, I would. Basically, rats get into the barn where they're storing the town's sole supply of cornmeal, and everyone gets typhus.
Nice.
From the cornmeal, because I guess the rats have fleas. I don't remember exactly how the transmission works, but I am scarred by they opened the barn doors and there's a pile of sacks of cornmeal and the rats are all over it, and it's one of those stings. Ta-da! And I'm little 6-7-year-old me is like, ah. That is probably why I am terrified to this day of rats, because it was imprinted on me. But Little House has a lot of episodes where there's just this terrifying image that sticks with you, and the overall wholesome messages don't stick at all.
Yeah. For real.
Yeah. But I guess for this one, I would say kudos to the makeup department, because that leg looked progressively gnarlier.
Yeah.
And I think, so Ma's by herself, not even, a dog to talk to or anything. So this is all communicated in actions and facial expressions and all these things. And she's never sitting there saying, "Oh wow, my leg is really sore." She's got to show that it hurts to put weight on it, that that, da, da, da. And it's a little dramatic, but it's not cheesy.
Yeah.
So nice job there.
Yeah.
I kept thinking, though, about those pies. They kept saying, oh, they're going to sell for so much money and we'll raise, what is it, nearly $100 or something like that.
Yeah.
No, it was like $4. It was some really small amount.
Yeah.
Anyway, raised a lot of money by their standards. But then I was like, those were outside in the rain the whole time. And
Yeah.
yes, they were covered, but that was right by the entrance. Like, those are going to be drenched. That's not going to be any good.
Yeah, you never know. It might add to them.
I suppose.
Add to it. You know?
Anyway, so there we go. Thank God for modern medicine, but also take better care of your wagon.
Yeah.
Basically. So, yeah. Do you have anything to add about this episode?
Not really. I mean, you know, these sort of episodes are always kind of weird no matter what it is, no matter what the show is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, Star Trek The Next Generation was big on Data episodes
Mm-hmm.
or Picard episodes. You know, it's where they kind of take this one character and give them more screen time than usual.
Yes.
So yeah, they can either be some of the greatest episodes or like, oh man, I'm more interested in this B plot of they're swinging on a rope jumping the river over here.
That's true. And they're also a nice little B plot of, because we're intercut scenes of Ma with scenes of the rest of them on their little road trip. And they were going to buy some hams from some guy who has a pig farm. And they made the cardinal mistake, the classic blunder of letting the kids meet pigs.
Oh, yeah.
And decide that they're so cute. And the little one, Carrie, who's, I don't know, 3 at this point, is like, I want to bring this one home. He's so cute. And they don't have the heart to tell her, no, he's going to be somebody's dinner in a while. So that was sort of cute. But then it's over and we're back to medical terror.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So then we watched the episode that really is the crux of this episode for me, which is Ma goes through menopause, aka little HIPAA violation on the prairie, aka how do you make your wife feel better about not being fertile? You crash someone else's wedding.
Yeah.
For some reason. I had forgotten about the second half of this episode, but
yeah, it goes places.
Yes, it's sort of weird. So, first of all, let's just say, for those who don't know, menopause in women, we're going to, not menopause, we're going to say the menopausal arc is what I call it, from the day that you are fully fertile to the day that you have achieved menopause, which is it has been 1 year since your last period. That whole arc can take a long time, like up to 10 years. And because you're gradually producing less and less of your various hormones, and so there's a lot of things that happen while your body adjusts. You know, people hear about hot flashes and night sweats and brain fog and all those other things, and that's your body adjusting to less and less. It's like if you were trying to get rid of a caffeine addiction, you go down little by little by little. You don't do a cold turkey.
Yeah.
Well, Ma apparently experiences none of this, because she tells us that she has just she's missed her period twice. And so she assumes that she's pregnant. And she tells everybody.
This is on the back of.
Yes. Immediately after her daughter has said, hey, I'm going to have a baby. I love how she comes up and she says to her husband is named Almanzo, but she calls him Manly because at some point he said, oh, my family calls me Manny as a nickname, and she misheard him and she calls him Manly. Okay, that's cute. She says, you'll never believe it. We're going to have a baby. And I'm like, ma'am, you are newlyweds. I'm pretty sure he knows how babies happen. I don't think this is a complete surprise, but okay. So then Caroline comes out and is like, well, I guess I'll tell you my news too. Your baby's going to have an uncle. So she hasn't seen the doctor yet. She's pregnant, and it's going to be a boy, which is a relevant plot point in a second. Spoiler, she's not pregnant. She has gone through the world's fastest menopause. I watched this at, 7, 8 years old. I thought that this is how everyone went through menopause. You just stop getting your period one day. It's not like that at all.
Yeah.
I wish it were, but it's not. First of all, you get your period more frequently for a while. And then at a certain point, you get it less frequently. And then it just peters out. And you get your period like every 8-9 months. And then it's been 12 months. And then you're really done. It's like when a car runs out of gas. It doesn't just like stop. It just goes. It doesn't stop like that with the violent bang on the table.
Yeah.
Just slows down a little bit. With
the caveat that human bodies are all different. And there may be someone who had a 2-month menopause like Ma, but
and
probably
didn't
not.
notice any symptoms. Like, I don't,
I mean, there are women who have, 8-month pregnancies surprise them in a toilet stall when a baby falls out. So
I suppose, but let's just say this episode led me to expect that was what was going to happen to me. Let me tell you, that's not what is happening to me.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, thanks Michael Landon and crew for giving me unrealistic expectations for menopause. So she goes to the doctor to check her, and he's like, "Yeah, no, sorry, you're very healthy, but there's no baby in there. You can never have children." They never say the word menopause.
Yeah.
Or does he say the change? It's all very vague, which is weird.
Yeah, I'm not sure that he
because they're talking about, they say the word pregnant several times. I don't think anyone at this stage and this time in history would have said the word pregnant. I think you talked about reproduction as little as possible. And I think for this, people would have gone to, there would have been a midwife in the village who did this stuff, not the doctor. But anyway, so it's weird that they're saying pregnant, but no one ever says menopause or the change or the, whatever.
Yeah.
Well, she is devastated because what am I going to be to Charles if I can't have any more babies, and particularly if I can't give him a son? Now, keep in mind, in the show and in the books and in real life, she did actually, no, I take it back. This isn't in the books, but in the show and in real life, she did, quote, give him a son. The baby died, but she did, in fact, have a boy. So I imagine that baby, his name is Freddie, sitting up on a cloud going, really? Really? I'm sorry I didn't, live that long, but what am I? You did have a son. What am I? Chopped liver, people? And the whole concept of giving him a son is just gross. I thought it was gross when it was Henry VIII. It's gross here, et cetera. But she says, "Oh, Charles is so happy, thinking that there's going to be another baby, and I can't tell him. And finally, the doctor is like, "You gonna tell him, or I will." So she tells him that she miscarried, basically. And Charles goes to the doctor, and the doctor's like, "Oh, I'm glad she told you." And Charles is like, "She just told me." What do you mean?
It's that classic. It's that classic. He's like, "I'm sorry. She swore me to secrecy." Blah blah. He's like, "What do you mean? She just lost the baby." Like,
no, there was
all
nothing.
These weeks. He said, he's something like that. Like, "Oh, it's been hard all these weeks not telling you," or something like that.
Yeah. And so she knows she's in menopause. He knows she's in menopause, but she doesn't know that he knows. Yeah. And so what does he do? He goes to talk to Laura, because as a daughter, that's what I want, is for my parents to come turn to me about difficulties with essentially their sex life.
Yeah. But also Laura, just to establish, is
the pregnant one.
Is the pregnant daughter, but also like the writer of these stories and like kind of the main character.
Yes.
In a sense. Yeah.
Yes. And, he is able to tell her, like, I am upset about this, but your mom's upset too, and I don't want to put my feelings on her, and and they basically decide we're going to let Ma keep this miscarriage cover story. But and she'll come around and yada yada. So in the meantime, Charles has gotten a letter from friends of theirs who are back in their hometown in Wisconsin somewhere, who their son is getting married and would they like to come to the wedding. Mm-hmm. I am not inviting friends from 20 years ago to our kid's wedding.
Well, it's things were different.
I mean,
these are they presumably grew up together.
I suppose.
that kind of deal. So
I suppose. So they weren't going to go, but Charles talks Caroline into it because it'll be good for us to get away and fresh start and blah, blah, blah. And so they go, and then they end up, they don't even call it renewing their vows. They call it getting married again. And they have a double wedding with these young people who they had never met before this day. And it's so bizarre.
Yeah, it's pretty weird.
Well, and so their friend, the mother of the groom, says, "Oh, you can wear my wedding dress. Let's go try it on you." And they go up. And so it's the bride, the mother of the groom, and then Caroline. And Caroline says to the bride, "Oh, you're sure you don't mind us doing this?" And there's a fraction of a second where you can see her face and she's like, "Yes, I 100% mind. This is some bullshit." And then she's like, "Oh, no, it's a... And I was like, sure that was not on purpose, but nice. Like, because I would feel incredibly weird about that. Yeah. What are her parents saying? Like, who are these people who just showed up? And I don't... What the hell? Yeah. So apparently the cure for your grief over menopause is crashing somebody else's wedding.
Apparently.
And then it's fine. I don't know. It's hard for me to really relate to Caroline here because I personally am not having the grief over not being fertile anymore. Mm-hmm. But then I dealt with that 10 years ago. When like we were done having kids. Like my feelings about not having any more kids happened when we weren't having any more kids, not when it is becoming physically impossible. So, but, and I don't know, I don't think that now women see themselves as only having value for their fertility. I'm assuming that they did then, but Caroline is shown as she runs a restaurant, and it wasn't supposed to be her restaurant, but she was brought in to help with the cooking, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, you're so good at cooking. This is your job now." So like, she clearly has other things going for her than just having kids.
Well, as far as the show has shown us, it's just cooking. She makes a hell of a pie.
That's true. Yeah.
And some good biscuits.
True. I think she was a teacher for a while before she was married. Yeah, I mean, so yes, cooking is a domestic art, but it's more than just, it's more than kids. We'll chalk this up to things were different 150 years ago, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's just, I mean, realistically in the frontier environment, I think that was the principal value of a woman, as a man's principal value was as provider / it was his back, right? Building the house and building the fence and hunting the food. And, it wasn't caveman times, but each of them was bringing something into the relationship. And he kind of, they touch on this as a sort of a plot point in The Witch that we watched, where the father there is shown to be incompetent at those things, and that's how he's kind of emasculated. He can't grow crops. He can't keep the farm. He can't hunt. So I mean, I think it was and I can imagine that was a very difficult thing for a woman if your principal use, quote unquote use, for the last for the first 20 years of your 15 years of your relationship was to pop out a kid every 2 to 3 years, which was another pair of hands to make the work lighter and all this sort of stuff. Then once you can't do that anymore, that's a major piece of what you're able to contribute gone.
Yes, but so at this point, she's given birth to 4 girls and a boy, the baby who died, and they have since adopted a boy too, completely fake, not in the books, not in real life, but he's there. And Charles at one point says, this has nothing to do with my not loving Albert. It's just, and then trails off like, I just want one of my own. Okay, fine. But like, you've had 5 kids. Like
Yes.
there's 5 living children in your household and you've given birth to 5. So
Mhm.
5 or 6, I guess, depending on how you look at it. Like at a certain point, you have to be like, okay, that's a good contribution.
Sure.
It's not perpetual. You're not going to keep having kids forever.
Sure.
So
And I think also in this episode, maybe Ma is meant to be sort of, there's that thing that happens in any sort of society, but a patriarchal society in particular, where it is, you buy into the fact that is your principal usefulness.
Yeah.
And you buy into the fact on some level that this is what you are contributing, and that you are, giving your husband children. And especially if you're going into some of that biblical stuff, the way that the obviously they do, women are property in the Bible. Children, when if a man strikes your pregnant wife and she loses the baby, there's a monetary compensation that's demanded. It isn't it's not a capital crime. It's just okay, well, your wife miscarried and so you owe him 2 cows.
Yeah.
It's the rough equivalent of, and the same thing. Yeah. Like, and I believe there are rules for a wife getting killed who is of childbearing age versus not, and these sorts of things. Like so she's living in this society that on some level is potentially teaching her that this is her value. And I don't see it so much as her struggling with like, what is my value to him, as it is her struggling against the society that has told her this is her value to him. Excuse me. And he makes it very clear over the course of the episode that isn't her principal value to him. That he is looking forward to a time where there aren't any kids running around, where they can spend time together.
And he loves her for her,
Yeah.
and all, which I don't think that so a marriage based on love, I don't think that was the norm at the time. Certainly throughout, Western history, that has not been the norm.
Yeah.
The idea of marrying for love is fairly new.
Well, in a frontier setting too.
Yes.
Like you can see when they're coming back for the wedding, that's a very
it's a settled town.
It's a very settled place, and those 2 kids probably are getting married for love because they have the luxury of doing that. And at the time that they got married, that you're right, that it wouldn't have been very common, and it wouldn't have been it would have potentially even been frowned upon. Like you just need a good partner. You need someone who's going to give you a bunch of kids.
Who cares if you love him? He's gonna
he can build a house.
Yeah.
Like he's
well, and Charles Ingalls, the person, the legitimate live person, I think historians and literary scholars now are looking back and saying this guy was a little bit bonkers. Like he could do a lot of stuff, but he dragged the family all over from pillar to post. They moved so often. I think we talked about this in our episode when we looked at the pilot. Like when I read Little House in the Big Woods to our son, as I read it as an adult, I realized like just how much they were giving up. They had a home with family nearby. They had a garden. There was plenty of, well, that's part of why they moved was it was getting overpopulated, but they had a root cellar. They had an herb garden. They had all this, stuff, and they had to go and start fresh because he couldn't handle too many people there. Like, dude, there are better ways to deal with this.
Yeah.
So, Charles might have been the cautionary tale of you love him, but will it be a good life? Like, you talk about, society gives you the message that you are only as good as your fertility. But this, I think, is sort of a problem with repurposing, with period pieces done for modern audiences. The show over the span of the seasons, and of course I can't think of specific episodes, but there's mildly feminist messages that probably were not there in real life. And so it's hard to square that with, oh, your only value is producing children. Because we've seen, so Ma works in, runs this restaurant. At some point they rename it. So it's called Nellie's after the girl who was supposed to run it. And then they change it to Caroline's. She teaches, she does all these things. At some point there is a thing about the women of the town go on strike until their husbands admit that women should be able to vote. This is in the 1880s. Like, this was not a common theme. So you've got this overlay of feminism, or at least a slightly more modern view of gender relations to make it palatable to modern audiences. And then you have this thing of, I can't have any more kids. What value? So it's an odd mixture is all. And I think that's the problem with, like I said, period pieces for modern audiences. If you don't adapt it very carefully, you end up with this weird dissonance where someone believes this, but also believes this. Not that dissonance is unknown in modern day humans for sure, but it's a strange juxtaposition is all.
Oh, sure. Yeah. And I mean, I think it's also the sort of thing where when you are doing something, period, you sometimes just say, well, I care about this thing. And even though it is anachronistic or whatever that they would care about it, I care about it. Or, wouldn't it have been cool if people in the 1890s were this,
enlightened
with it and enlightened. And these, for in the eyes of some people, these, country folk were actually the cool ones. They were smarter than the intellectuals.
Well, true. Yeah. Well, and you might say, well, in the 70s, were they all that enlightened? Well, this actress was, Karen Grassley, I think is her name. She has said when this episode came up, she thought it was kind of ridiculous. She's like, why is Ma going to care this much? Like, yes, being pregnant and giving birth is great, but come on, there are other things in life. And she thought, oh my God, this is going to ruin my career because I'm doing this, all this crying over something that it should not be this central to the character. But I think she was nominated for an Emmy for it. So
well, I think that there's one reading of this that maybe the show doesn't fully support, but that you could see that it isn't that Ma is so distraught over the idea of not having kids. It's that she becomes so invested in the idea of finally having a son.
Yeah.
That when she finds out not only is, and there's some text and subtext within the episode to support this being more of what she's upset about than anything, that is too much. That it isn't the loss of the ability to have children at all. It's that she was so invested in finally having a son and that survived. And that now not only can she not do that right now, there isn't even a chance to do that ever. And and if you read it that way instead of as some sort of exploration of patriarchal society in the late 1800s or whatever, then it is more of a personal story of one person's dealing with the loss of this ability to reproduce, but also this loss of this opportunity to do this thing for someone that they wanted more than anything else, and you were the only one who could do it.
Well, that's fair. And I do think there is something to be said for, you might not have thought you wanted this thing, but then you learned you were going to get it and you sort of psych yourself up for it.
Yeah.
And so then you realize you can in fact have it. And then it's a worse feeling than you would have had originally. And you actually see this in TV shows a lot, set in modern times too. A couple, she thinks she's pregnant and it's a shock, but then they get used to the idea and they're kind of excited about it. And, oh, I'm not, or I miscarried, or, whatever. Or like, oh, it was just my period was late, or, what. And then it's this, oh, well, I was getting excited about it. And now I'm, like, I get that.
Yeah.
There is something to be, you think you're going to have this thing and then you're not, and then it hurts worse
Oh yeah.
than if you never had the promise of it. So I understand that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you find this. You can find this in a lot of different places, and a lot of times it is just. Sometimes it is just the thing of you can't have this thing anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like if someone came to me and said, oh, hey, we just ran some tests, and you can't have Norwegian Miak. And I've never had it. It's Ernest Scared Stupid referencing.
Yes.
I've never had it. I've never wanted to have it. But now that you told me that I can't,
yes,
now I'm lamenting the fact that I can't have it to the point where I may even become obsessed with it. So yeah, it is not uncommon in the human condition to want what you can't have, to become accustomed to an idea, and then have it taken away from you. And so it is on some level also a relatable experience, which could explain why this did not go as poorly as she thought it might.
Yeah. Well, and I can understand to a degree the idea of Pa wanting a son, just because I always saw myself as having a daughter.
Yeah.
And I didn't, and that took a while to sort of get used to. That, like, not that I wish that our current kid were a girl, but that there wasn't another one, so yeah. I get that. I think a man wanting a son is a way more loaded concept than a woman wanting a girl, particularly in this time period, the Ingalls time period.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So it's not exactly the same, but I understand it there. But I have tried to be just like, well, okay, I would have liked that, but it didn't happen. Moving on. And that's not. So I don't know. I get it, but it's not quite the same.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I guess my where I land on it is I'm glad that so far I'm not very upset at the idea of me going through menopause or losing my fertility or whatever. And aren't you glad you have a son? So I don't need to worry about that.
I guess, yeah. Yeah, as someone who doesn't really care about that, yeah, one way or the other.
What I have said to other people, because there are, I think people don't want to talk about, wanting one gender or the other and not getting it, or wanting a certain mix of kids, or whatever. People don't want to talk about it because it sounds like you're ungrateful for the kid that you have, and it isn't that exactly. It's just I imagined my family one way, and it's not it. Yeah. But what I've said to people was, at first I was really weirded out by the idea of having a boy because I didn't know what to do with I didn't understand boys when I was young. I didn't for most of my dating life. I didn't, whatever. I didn't know what to do. And then after a while, he wasn't a boy anymore. He was my kid.
Yeah.
By which I mean not that he was genderless, but like he was a kid that I knew more than just this abstract, scary boy thing. So but yeah, people don't talk about that enough. And I think the whole gender reveal thing has just made it worse.
Oh, yeah.
Because a lot of people have talked about having to process their feelings in real time in front of an audience. Yeah. And that's messed up.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
I think gender reveals are a scourge. They should go away.
No. Yeah.
Well, I mean, because no one wants that video to exist.
Yeah.
No one thinks about 15 years from now, their teenage kid seeing a video and having to explain to their kid that, I was dad,
it's because it's always dads
threw the cake against the wall because you were a girl.
Yeah, it's always dads. Not always. Mostly. 99% of the time, it's dads behaving badly. Yeah, or if the kid's gonna watch it like this Ruder film and like, why did you walk out of frame for a second and you come back and your face is wet? What happened? I just process that in private. And I think the whole gender reveal thing. It divides kids into very, very stereotyped binaries. It's one or the other. And like I said, after a while, our kid was just himself. Yeah. It wasn't a boy.
I wish, I think that's one of the places where we sort of put our money worth, where our mouth is on that, like, idea of bucking gender roles and that sort of stuff. And I think that starts with the gender reveal, not knowing what gender our kid was, decorating a room in green and yellow, and just sort of like, hey, this kid is going to be in this room no matter what gender they are. The room's not going to make them gay or not gay or anything else. If it's the wrong color, if it doesn't match them, like you just start at the very beginning. You don't put so much. There is almost nothing you can better prepare for, especially your first child's arrival, with the knowledge of what gender they are, what sex they are. It just doesn't. It's not going to make things any better. And it was really fun, honestly. Being like that, being the first thing, like, oh, the baby is healthy, it's breathing. Okay, what is it?
Okay, now that I still remain fascinated by the reactions that we got from people, because people our age, so early 30s, give or take 5 or 10 years, would say, oh my gosh, I couldn't do that. I would need to know what color to paint the room. And we were like, okay, first of all, you can paint it whatever color you want.
It doesn't matter.
Second of all, green and yellow and, non-gendered colors are an option. Third of all, you can paint after the baby's born. Like, this is not a reason to, But then older people, like our parents' age, would say, oh, good for you. And I was like, I didn't do it for your approval, but okay, thanks. Like it was really, did you notice that pattern?
Oh yeah. 100%.
It happened a lot, and I was odd. So I don't know. Like, we weren't doing it to prove anything to anybody. I just thought, like, I don't need to know, so I won't find out. But then the more that I heard from other people about, oh, you have to find out, I was like, no, I don't. Watch me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to.
You become like dedicated to your non-standard choice.
To my agnosticism about it. Yeah, it was odd, but all that to say, gender is a construct, and you don't need to have a baby of a certain gender or sex, and your baby is your baby. So but menopause can be rough, but for different reasons than this. But don't crash somebody else's wedding. That's weird.
Yeah.
So the thing that I do love about that, though, is this. So when they get there, the father, their friend, is wearing a cardigan. Yeah. And I was like, did they have cardigans? You never see that. Men are always wearing just like button-up shirts or suit jackets.
Yeah, I think they were trying to dress them in like city folk clothes.
Yeah, it must have been. And because 2 of the boys at various points have like these turtleneck sweaters, so knitted all over, and I just never see that either. Like, what in the world?
It was a little funny.
Like, I'm sure that cardigans existed, but it's just so incongruous. But then Little House is not great about period appropriate details.
Sure.
The hairstyles are always these fluffy 70s things, and not great. But anyway. Well, I think we've sort of chewed the fat on these oddly paired episodes. Yeah. Anything else you want to mention?
I don't know. Yeah. I would say I would defer to you, because this is perhaps your last opportunity to talk about Little House.
Oh, no.
On this podcast.
We've got the whole rest of the year. There's so many. I could talk to you about the episodes where there's a clown rapist.
Yes.
The one where they play football and they score by tossing a player over the goal line.
Nice.
All sorts of episodes where a person with a disability shows up, and Laura develops a bond with them, and they teach people a thing or two about discrimination, but then that person's never seen again.
Yes, naturally. Yes.
And then the best one of all, Mary and her husband, who's also blind. Mary goes blind, and her husband is blind, and they are starting a blind school. And they have a baby who may or may not be blind. We never find out, because the blind school burns down, and the baby is in it.
Jeez.
And there was a woman in there with the baby who, and people swear up and down, she's holding the baby like a battering ram and using it to break the glass to try to get out. Doesn't really work. But
nice.
So. Yeah, like
I mean, you can talk to me about those, but you You can't talk to the people about those.
I can.
Well, you could just make all the rest of your selections.
How many episodes do I have left?
Right.
You
could make all of your selections.
Yeah.
Little House.
Well, folks, we would love to know what you think of these 2 episodes or of the Little House universe in general. Do you want an episode about Sylvia and the clown rapist, or the baby battering ram, or anything? I don't know. Do you want to talk about Ma and menopause and how it affected your expectations about menopause? I don't know. Let us know what you think. We would love to hear from you. You can get in touch with us in a couple different ways. You can send us an email. It's YSMY podcast, YSMY for You Show Me Yours, @gmail.com, or you can send us a DM on Facebook, same handle. You can also check our main feed for links to all of our latest episodes. In 2026, we have episodes every single Wednesday. The first Wednesday of the month, we are doing our usual YSMY thing and talking about movies and television that we loved before our first date. And then the rest of the Wednesdays of the month, we are doing a rewatch of Degrassi Junior High, the Canadian teen show from the 80s that we both loved. So next month, the first Wednesday of next month, Dave will be hosting. And what are we watching then, Dave?
Yeah. So it's going to be summer blockbuster season. So I'm going to go with a summer blockbuster from my youth. I think I was in my early 20s when this movie came out. We're going to watch, and it is a movie of certain lore within our relationship. We will be watching the Brendan Fraser Mummy.
Excellent. I've been waiting to do this for a long time.
Yes.
I've never seen this. I've had so many opportunities, and I've been waiting for you to show it to
this
me.
moment.
So,
yes,
great.
Yes.
It's got a stacked cast.
High
really.
adventure stacked cast.
Not as stacked as I thought.
Yeah, not as doesn't contain all of the actors you assumed. Great cast. A real old style adventure action movie in the vein of Indiana Jones, mixed with the classic monster movies of the 30s and 40s. Yeah, just a tip top, great action adventure movie.
Excellent. My dreams are coming true.
Yes.
I really can't wait.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we will see you next month with The Mummy. In the meantime, this has been You Show Me Yours. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye. The You Show Me Yours theme song is Uplifting Electronic Indie by Winnie the Moog from filmmusic.io.